cover unless you've gone to the insurance
Please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, today is Monday, March 4th, 2019. The time is 5 p.m. The meeting of the Greensburg Board of Works is called to order. At this time, please silence electronic devices. To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the city requests that participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. Ashley, could you do roll call, please?
Carol Perkins. Here. Rick Ensmuller.
Here.
Darrell Coleman.
Here.
And Wayne Teddy is absent.
Right. Okay. First, we need to approve the minutes for February the 4th. Did everybody receive the copy of the minutes of the February 4th meeting? Is there any corrections? Not hearing any, I would like to have a motion to accept the minutes for February 4th. So moved. Second?
A second.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passed. Okay, now we need the minutes for February 25th, 2019. You all receive that information?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Old business. Keith, we're talking about Main Street project.
Yes. Here.
You wanna just tell us what your findings are and
Sure.
what your feelings are on the project and how much it's gonna cost?
Okay. So we had a great opening last week, and we reviewed all the bids, and all of them met the requirements that we had in our for the contract documents. So that was good news. And the low bidder was Shooty Excavating at that time. So we reviewed the documents as well as Chris reviewed them last week, and they had all that was required. So at this point, we would make a recommendation to accept pending any concerns the city may have or differences.
What was the price?
Oh, sorry, price. Price was $474,991, so $474,991.
Okay. Board, do you have any questions for him?
The next highest bidder was about, what, $400 difference? Is that what it
About
was?
200. It was 475, 200.
Okay.
So very close.
Review shooting list
We currently have a project in Rushville he's working on, and he's done a good job so far in terms of quality. He's met all the requirements there. And this project is OCRA funded, and that one as well. And he's met all the paperwork timely and submitted everything to OCRA on time. So he's cooperated, done a good job there.
Okay, board. Are you willing to accept it?
As long as there's nobody that's against it, I'm fine with it.
Okay. So I'd like to have a motion to accept the shootable bid of $474,991 for the Main Street project.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second?
A second.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so passes.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
will you contact them and let them know that they got a worship with the board? Or,
Oh, so.
So it'll be a tentative award. So I'm Sarah Steinrock, I'm with ARA. And so we would be working as the grant administrator. So you guys have what we would call tentatively awarded at this point, the contract to Shooty Excavating. But we would not be able to make an official award of that contract until we have what we call a release of funds from the Okra side. So the grant funding would be released based on the fact that we will present Okra with all of the paperwork that we've done up to this point to show that we have done our due diligence and that the engineer's recommendation and the bid tabulation shows that Shooty Excavating is the low bidder. So we anticipate that we will have release of funds within the next couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks. We're still working with NDOT to get the permit, and they have requested a few answers to a few questions, nothing concerning, but just a part of the process of getting the permit. They have asked for HWC to clarify some things with the permit. So having received that here in the next couple of weeks, we will send paperwork to Okra, and that generally takes maybe 24 hours to a week to get release of funds. At that point in time, then we can officially award the contract with you guys' permission to Shooty Excavating. So we could, through the engineering firm, or through us, or through you, Mayor, let Shooty know that as of this point, the contract has been tentatively awarded to them. It's really up to you. What's your preference?
what we do with the extra money?
What do you do with the extra money?
Yeah,
So there
because
are,
the project came in, it was 600,000 bids.
right.
Thought it was a little costly.
So the grant funding is up to $600,000, which could be used in this project. So that is awarded to the city, and we'll be able to use as much of that as we can, keeping that percentage that we agreed to in the grant agreement, that your local percentage would be, what is that, 20%, I think. So in the end of the project, chances are we'll de-obligate some of that grant funding. We won't be able to use it all. But the good news is your local contribution will also be,
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
yeah.
That's very positive.
But having a little bit of cushion is always good in case you
Yeah.
were to have a change
Yeah,
order or
yeah.
what have you.
Get a little,
Right.
Yeah.
a little leeway.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's very
Anything else?
Okay, thank you guys. So,
I just, Chris, should we amend that, motion then to include it's tentative upon our
Receiving the
roadmap?
grant,
Yeah.
like we did earlier, that you're only proceeding, submitting the grants this way, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor, would you like the presentation, please?
sure. Thanks, guys. Okay, we're moving on to new business. Tenderloin Throwdown, Main Street. Evening, Terry.
Good evening. Our Tenderloin Throwdown is currently scheduled for Saturday, June 22nd. And we typically set up the evening before, so the streets would be shut down for approximately 24 hours.
Have you got a hold of the
Yes.
police, fire, and army?
Yes.
And they're all going up, so that works.
It's basically the same as
Yeah.
last year.
Yes, so I know that the layout has changed every year or so, but I think last year we hit the right layout, so it will mimic last year's very closely. The children's area might be a little larger this year. That'd be the only difference.
Okay. Any other questions, guys?
I move that, we allow streets to be closed for the throwdown.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Any other questions for all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So passed.
Thank you.
Have fun. Jeff Smith, you're next.
I'm bringing two items before you this evening. One is to purchase a half-ton pickup. We're going to replace my $19.99 Dodge. It's $19.99, so. Well, I got it. We got a quote from Chevrolet, Dodge, and Ford. The Ford is the cheapest of the three, $22,477.40. So I would like to go forward. We've had all three manufacturers down there, they all make a good job.
Now, is this half-ton also?
Yeah, it's half-time.
Jeff, how soon can you get the truck? They got it in stock?
No, they didn't have it in stock, I think it's like 8 to 10 weeks. And at that time, I'll come back and figure out what we're gonna do with the Dodge. Transmission's out of it.
But you can buy.
Oh, yeah, we get by.
This was all figured in the budget, right?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Make a motion to allow Jeff to purchase the Ford.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Jeff.
The second item I bring before you, we opened quotes last week, or last month, on the gas creek sanitary sewer replacement project. The sewer that we're going to replace starts at the intersection of North Lincoln and Spain and runs back to the railroad tracks. It's about 500 feet, I guess, or so. We had two quotes. The lower quote came in from Dave O'Meara Contracting out of North Vernon with a low bid of $134,905. It would be my recommendation to go ahead and accept that bid, and then once we accept it, we'll get the paperwork and get it all started. We did get the proof of insurance and some other things. I worked with the city a little over 20 years. Dave's done a lot of projects in the city, both streets and stores. Just have no problem with it.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept Dave O'Meara's bid for the sewer project.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Okay, any other questions?
Good.
So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff, when will they be starting that possibly?
That'll be a part of it, they'll have to break
April or
their time schedule, probably. Weather-wise, maybe middle of April, or something like that.
Okay.
What's that gonna do to closures in that area then?
Should not do anything. We're not, the section under Lincoln Street will be like a slip line, then we'll set a new manhole south of Lincoln, down in the Pasco's property, and then that's when the line is set off, just because of that. So they won't have to do anything like this.
That go under 4.1.
Huh?
How's that going?
It goes up the railroad bridge, goes to what we call the cycling structure, which dies under the, or gas creek at the railroad bridge, goes to the far side, goes down the east side of Gas Creek till you get to 421. Goes to another cycle structure, which brings it back to the other side of the creek, and then it goes to the sewer plant.
Okay. Okay. Ron May, change order number 4 for Lincoln Street.
Good evening. I have, excuse me, for your consideration this evening, change order number 4 for Lincoln Street. And as in the past, this project is being funded by the Greensburg Redevelopment Commission, and the commission has reviewed this change order and they have agreed to fund it. This change order has 3 items. We've identified an additional tree, actually at the north end of the wall there along Gas Creek, that's in pretty poor shape, and we've got our nice, I think, nice looking handrail, and we don't want the damn tree falling over and tearing up our handrail. A decision that was made a while back was to change the finish on the handrail. Originally, it was to be galvanized and painted, which those of us with the experience with galvanized know it's somewhere between difficult and impossible to keep finish. So we changed it to a plastic coat. And then finally, because of the time extension on the project, the signs and barricades were out there a much longer period of time, and so there's additional payment for that additional time. I would love to stand here and tell you this is the last change order, but in fact, there will be at least one more. That one will have a couple of items to do with the paving work in the last block between Walnut and Hendricks, and also there'll be something we call underruns and overruns. There will be certain unit price items where we had more units than we originally estimated, and fortunately a few that have less. So all of this combined, though, we have been using the overall number of 1.33 or 1.35 million for the project. These things have all been considered in that number, and to refresh your memory, the initial guesstimate, no, I'm sorry, it was a little better than that. The initial estimate, engineer's estimate for the project was about 1.4 million, so we're still under that initial budget number.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? On change order number 4 on North Lincoln Street.
So the total of that change order was $28,204.60, right?
203.60.
203.60, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Motion to approve.
Okay, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So passed.
I'm afraid. Where'd you say?
That's what I,
For a while.
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, Mark, are you done?
Do you want a brief update or?
No.
The good news is the concrete work on Lincoln Street is nearly finished, and it hadn't turned cold over the weekend. I might have been able to stand here and say it's finished south of Walnut. We're still gonna replace some of the sidewalk north. They're putting in the topsoil. It's not graded out, but it's roughed in, and the project is really starting to look finished. And, other than what Carol just said about the weather's not warming up, so it doesn't lead to optimism about an asphalt plant opening, I finally feel like I can see the end in sight. So, if you haven't had a chance to see it, look at it. It's starting to look good.
Thank you, Ron. Thanks.
Okay, Mark.
Good evening. Bringing to you contract for County Road 350 West. I don't know if you're familiar with 350 West, it's a short dead end road out on the western edge of Honda property. A logistics company placed an operation back in there about 2 years ago. We widened the stone road, improved it at that time, and left it with stone surface. They since are expanding their operation, increased their number of employees, looking at building a permanent structure, so we are going to give them a asphalt surface road. The mayor and I approached the county TIF. They've agreed to fund this in its entirety. They wanted some hard numbers, so we got some quotes from 3 contractors we had confidence in. And I'll give you the amount of those quotes. Milestone quoted us at $99,350. Globe Asphalt Paving quoted $96,170. And Dave O'Mara contract quoted $75,944.70. All the quotes appear to be in order, and my recommendation is that you go ahead and award the contract to Dave O'Mara. You've already heard from Jeff Smith, they're qualified. You'll also see on the page you're going to sign here in a minute, there's probably $40 million worth of paving projects that were completed in the last year in southeastern Indiana, so I'm sure they're going to get to it rather quickly, and we'll take them all to complete.
Okay. Any other questions?
I make a motion that we award the project on 350 to Dave O'Mara.
Second?
I'll say.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay.
So get towards it.
Yeah, I know. Well, I didn't know if you had to do anything. Oh.
Okay, Chief Bridges.
Good evening, how's everybody? Okay, I'm not expecting any decisions to be made tonight. I just want to kind of go over the request that we are looking at some point in time. I believe you all have in your packets that we are looking, and I feel we are at a time to where we are crossing that bridge to desperately need an IT engineer, and that this person would be hopefully funded through public safety if it goes that way, and it would also be oversight through the sheriff's department, the police department, fire department, EMA, and central dispatch are the 5 major areas that we would actually need this IT engineer for. Currently, we are working on a break fix model. We're not doing too much with preventative maintenance in that, and that's what we're wanting to try to get onto. Unfortunately, what we have seen here lately is if we've had an issue with a piece of equipment, radios, anything like that, we've had to contact our part-time IT person to come in and assist with that. Unfortunately, our current IT person, again, he's part-time, and with his full-time job, he might not be able to get there for a day or two. And so that's some of the problems that we're seeing. Again, we're seeing a lot of inefficiencies that are costly by waiting until something breaks and then fixing it. Lives of first responders and citizens are at risk when, of course, communications are disrupted and things fail during emergencies, and that's one thing that we do not want to experience. And I'll touch upon that here in a little bit. Again, how do we get here? Operational requirements, especially communications, outgrow our in-house capabilities, and the essential maintenance and troubleshooting requirements exceed the capabilities of employees with the 5 primary public safety agencies. And we all know that we're in a day and age of electronics, and that's not going to go away. And if anything, it's going to be even more major in the future in that. Right now, we are actually working with 2 systems that are beyond the end of life equipment, and that is our core networks, our servers, which Decatur County's was in 2006, and ours was up in 2012. And again, we're kind of limping and hoping that one of those servers does not go down, because then we're going to be looking at a very large expense. Again, computer hardware, software installations and maintenance, compliancy, and preventative maintenance to avoid catastrophic failures. It's been about 6 months ago. The one thing we don't think about is ransomware, and ransomware hit our agency, and unfortunately it took several hours for our part-time IT guy to come in and get that fixed, and again, a lot of hours went into that. And again, it wasn't just done in that day. He had to go sporadically to get all those problems fixed. So again, having somebody full-time would be very huge with that type of issue. What should be fixed? Again, equipment, coordination between the 5 primary public safety agencies. We are also looking at a large project which affects us all, which is the jail project, and with that you're looking at cameras, key fob systems, servers, and again computers, and fleet connectivity, and disaster plans. And like I said, I'm just going to go through this PowerPoint, and then I'm going to actually kind of speak on a little bit more. I know I'm not very fancy with the engineering, with the IT part. But right now, what we can continue to do is business as usual. Rely on casual network and former employees, associates to come in and fix our problems on their own time. Again, that can take days at a time. And fixes fixes often occur days after. Long-term solution, again, is a network engineer with a college education with at least 5 years experience. When I say that, I'm not putting anybody down that has IT experience, but this does not need to be just a regular IT person. This has to be an engineer, an IT engineer. When we're looking at going into the core basics of the server and that, it's not like just looking at printers and that's in computer. We're going to need somebody with a lot of knowledge. Somebody that can be contacted 24/7, close by, and that's willing to respond. The service, and this is where, again, I'm not asking for any approval. This is something we're going to have to work out, but they would be considered as a county employee, and we are looking again through public safety funds, which are available. They would report to the advisory board, which is composed of the sheriff, chief of police, volunteer firefighter, fireman representative, the fire chief, and communications supervisor. Really, the equipment they would need is just your day in, day out computer equipment. There are locations where this person could be housed and work. And of course, the funding, again, this is one to where a lot of people might kind of take a step back, but $100,000 per year, which the benefits are about $32,000. If you look on the second page, I want to just quickly go over it because there's been some confusion on this. This is not a salary and bonus. This is a salaried network engineer in our area. Is usually around the start off is $114,000. So we're still below that asking salary. And then again, the consequences if these are not, or this is not done, is again a catastrophe. I'm sorry, I can't even say the word, sorry. Network failure during an emergency, increased maintenance and repair costs, and again, serious injury or death of a first responder or citizen due to failed communications. Again, you know, it was brought up, have we ever had a death or a serious injury to an officer or a citizen because of communications? Not that I'm aware of, but again, it's something that I do not want to face. I don't want to have to get to that point. And that's why I do think that this is a time that we do start looking at something like this. Like I said, I think we're several years behind. A couple things that we've had come up recently is radio issues. We have towers within Decatur County to where we have our 800 megahertz, which all emergency personnel have capabilities of. The police and sheriff utilize the 800 frequency a lot more. Pretty much that is our primary channel. Up until a couple of years ago, the sheriff's department could be down in Westport and would have no radio reception, so dispatch could not actually hear anything that they were doing down in that area. And cell phone is still an issue. Now, we've taken care of that issue with adding a little bit to the Let's Tower down there to where now the sheriff's department does not have to worry about having to get out, and that there, like I said, there was times where they could not actually be heard. Just recently, we had an issue to where it's called site trunking. Our officers were not able to communicate with Central Dispatch, and the officers were not able to communicate with each other on the road. And unfortunately, it was something that we did not know was happening, so we had to contact our radio people, and they had to come all the way from Columbus. And so, again, we were fitted into their schedule, so it took several hours to where our radio communication was down. We had Spillman outages before, and unfortunately we have had to call in our IT, or the guy, or I'm sorry, at our department is Assistant Chief Mike McNeely, who has Spillman training, which is our CAD system that everybody throughout the county uses. He, along with our part-time IT guy, has had to come in and work 6 to 8 hours at night trying to get this up. And again, by having somebody there to do the preventive maintenance, I feel would easily prevent some of the issues that we're seeing. One other issue that we've had, and that we've actually had an unsecured building at the PD, where we've actually had somebody who was able to unlock it, or come in an unlocked door, who was just released from jail and was standing in our squad room. Our key fob system since then has been fixed, but it used to be I would get a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning saying, hey, building's unsecured, what do we do? Again, this is just stuff that we have to get fixed before it gets bad. And again, I don't know when a server is going to go down, and those servers are housing a lot of our very important cases. The ransomware, where they were able to get in, again, that is stuff that we do not need released to the public. And again, we have faced those issues. So we've had issues, and I just want to bring this in front of the Board of Works again. That way, if the City Council and the County Council, County Commissioners, everybody's free to move forward, that we start looking at getting this position created and filled, in my personal opinion. Again, I'm not an IT person, as you see. I struggle with this stuff and that, but again, it all comes down to the safety of the citizens, officers. And again, I don't want to experience that. I want to take care of the issue before it even gets to that point. So, but like I said, if you guys have any questions on the dispatch side, the sheriff side, again, I have the sheriff here, Erica Free with the Decatur County Communications is here, and then Assistant Chief McNeely is here on the Spillman side. We've had several meetings, and we are all in agreement that this is a must. And again, it would be for public safety, only. And we would get all this stuff worked out to where, again, we would be able to utilize them to where we need. One question has come up, can we keep them busy enough? And yes, we could. Again, this person, my feelings would be in charge of all our inventory, working with Verizon, working with Motorola, Spillman to make sure everything is, again, on file on that. Right now, we're working with Verizon to actually have communications where we receive priority on emergencies to where if everybody's on their cell phone, we will actually be able to have a plan to where we will be able to knock people off of their service to where emergency communications will be first priority. So again, this stuff that I could hopefully relieve myself and my assistant chief from and have our IT guy solely concentrate on that and get all that set up to where he knows the talk and the lingo that they're needing. And like I said, I think it's a very important thing. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
What kind of timeline are you looking at?
You know, I understand this is going to be several months, but I would really hope that it would be July, August, September. I think it needs to be done again this year. And again, if it is approved, we can discuss the payment part. But again, we have the funds available in public safety to where this can be funded.
What's EMS doing?
Good question. You know, and I'm not.
They're part of the safety. I didn't know if
They
was
are,
something
they
different.
are. That's a question that I believe the county commissioners would need to have with the hospital. I do know at one time when we were going through all the central dispatch talks, my personal opinion is I feel EMS should be paying into a little bit of that. Unfortunately, they are not at this time. I do not have any control over that. But no, I agree. I do think that EMS needs to have a little bit of part in this, and that. But like I said, I think that can be a discussion that we could have. And again, if we do approve this, like I said, not jumping and all that, taking our time, bring them into the discussions and see what they can maybe help out in doing also.
And what's the surrounding areas doing? You know?
So,
Now, I'm on
Mr.
board.
McNeely, right, Mr. McNeely did make some phone calls to some outside agencies, and I'm not sure, I wasn't in the office much today, so you can maybe elaborate on that.
I spoke to City of Franklin, I also spoke to City of Shelbyville and Columbus today. Most of those, well, all those places have IT people that are hired by the city. So that person is not necessarily working just for 911. They have engineers and IT people that are doing the entire city. Yeah, we're looking at kind of a hybrid type thing because public safety is becoming so technologically advanced and has to be because of what we're dealing with. You know, now we have people texting and 911 calls, stuff like that. So that type of technology is just going to continue to advance.
I just want to make sure we're covered.
Right, yeah. And another thing is like our WatchGuard cameras, you know, with body cameras integrating with the in-car cameras and that takes up a lot of server space, and thank goodness we've been able to keep on top of that. Unlike a lot of cities, we are still very fortunate with our storage and that. But one day, we're gonna have an issue with that. And again, that stuff that is beyond us, and I would much rather have somebody there explaining and go ahead and doing that instead of us trying to bring somebody in and paying them $150 an hour. Because that's what we're gonna face, is when we start bringing people in, is $150 an hour to work on this stuff, so.
Chief, do you have any idea what we're putting out right now, monetarily, to a part-time person?
So, I could tell you
Ballpark.
$900 every quarter, which is very, very cheap. The only problem is we might only see him once every month, once every 2 months, because again, he has a full-time job. We're not gonna find anybody cheaper than that. The good thing is his mind is law enforcement, so that's why he helps us out. But like I said, he gets to what we can. Like I said, right now I can't. I came in the other night to work Operation Pullover. Came in, started my computer for e-ticket, crashes, everything like that, and my whole computer was done. And I ended up having to go home because I could not run anything on the computer. Again, he probably came in and fixed it within 5 minutes, but again, I wasn't going to bother him. So it's just like small issues like that that we definitely need. And that, but I mean, I could definitely get, by the next meeting, I can definitely give you a cost of what we're looking at, or what we would be paying for somebody that would be charging $100 an hour to come in and look at some of our
I
stuff.
think that would be
purpose.
It was $208,000.
But like I said, how much are these paid to have
Chief, it was-
Spillman come in?
It was $208,000. If you hire a contract person at the contract rate, which is usually between $100 and $125 an hour, it came out to about $208,000 per year. If you base it on a 40-hour week, where they would work throughout the week and they were there the whole time. One of the other advantages, if I could just interject, Chief, one of the other advantages of having our own IT person, any kind of mass casualty incident that we would have, I mean, God forbid we have something like what happened in Alabama this morning with 23 people killed, that was just a tornado. We had a tornado come through here a few years back, right, and wiped out a good portion of, you know, the airport and several places throughout, but didn't result in loss of life. That person would be called in just like any of our department heads would be if we had that mass casualty incident, because you'd want us all in the same room with the coordination of the EMS, the police response, the fire response. That person would be there as well, because if we were to lose communications at that point, which is obviously all internet based and then that web based, we would be in big trouble. I mean, it's chaotic to begin with. To have that happen in a small community, it would be mass chaos, I think, at that point if we lost our communication. So that might be one of the advantages of having that basically owning that person, so to speak, rather than a contract person that you couldn't really call out at 3 o'clock in the morning, because there are very few contractors that'll say, yeah, we'll come right out.
And also, one real quick thing that we just learned here recently, we have a company called VIA that helps out with some of the Spillman money, correct? So we had an issue where Spillman went down, we tried contacting them and nobody unfortunately would really get back with us. Well, they knew, but they failed to tell us that they have recently been bought out. And so we're pretty much paying so much money to them a year to where, again, if we do this position, my recommendation would be we get rid of VIA. Because an IT engineer should be able to do exactly what they're doing. And again, since we have them on contract, we would be able to get them there now instead of having to wait for somebody in Indianapolis to make contact back with us. So,
Be interesting to see a job description.
absolutely.
Description and how much you are paying for
Yep.
the services and
Correct.
stuff. To compare. Like I said,
Absolutely.
I'm all for it.
Right.
I just want
Right.
to make sure.
No, and that's what, like I said, yeah, we've spoken, or Sheriff Durant's already spoken to the county, and that's one thing they recommended, and like I said, yeah, we have absolutely no issue doing that. We just wanted to at least start, just giving you guys information to see where you guys were out on it before we actually just dove right in, because like I said, we know that this isn't gonna be a next month hire. This is gonna be a few months, so.
Yeah, I know where you're at.
Okay, I have a question. What about the equipment? When are you looking at replacing that? And how much is that gonna cost?
Are you talking about servers, computers?
Yeah, where the core network to run their 2006. What are we looking at right here? Because you got 2006 and 2012. Where are we going? How long do they last?
Just start with, well, you're looking at life range, they say 4 years on any on any piece of technical equipment. Right. The cost of the equipment is not that bad. The switches that we're looking at both places are right around $2,000 to $3,000. The problem comes with the downtime that it takes. And then trying to get our schedules to all line up where we can take it down on a non-busy time and get everything back up, and trying to do that with a contractor is always an issue.
Okay, so there's not a real large
No,
cost.
as far as the
core.
processor, as far as the storage, stuff like that, we're sitting well. Actually, when we were out at the Spillman conference, when was that? November. We sat down with one of the Spillman IT guys, and he actually remoted in and took a look at our servers. Storage-wise, processor-wise, we're sitting real well. Processor we need to look at maybe in the next year to 2 years. But what we're talking about is we're talking about switches. We're talking about keeping track of the fiber between the buildings to make sure that that's all in good standing. You know, all it takes is the right truck to hit the right pole, and things can go bad. So we've been working, trying to keep at least 2 routes between servers, so that if something like that happens, we don't have that issue.
Chief. Also, too, as far as equipment, Mayor, is like, you know, some of the, just your laptops and things that we would use on our respective departments, that would come out of each of our budgets. My sheriff budget, it would come out of Director Free's budget, and then the police and budget. So any of that equipment would not be additional. We cover that.
Yeah, oh yeah, and again, that's why we got the public safety funds on our end, is to help pay for the computers, and now, like I said, I'm gonna be replacing, I think, 6 to 8 computers in PD this year, just because of the shelf life of them and that, so that, and they're, like I said, they're being used 24/7, so.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next we have the interlocal agreement with emergency dispatch services. This is 911. This is our portion of what we pay into that. $398,894. Yeah. It's about page 3. Page 3. Pretty well staying just the same the last 3 years. The county is slowly moving up to us, trying to get more people for the, Erica, do you want to say something about your department? How you're starting to grow or trying to grow or?
Yes. State your name, your job title.
Erica's my 911 person.
Yes, I'm Erica Franklin, I'm one director. We actually, this budget year, got the city and the county up to a 50-50 split. I believe when dispatch was initially put into place, they were doing it off of like a call volume. And then through the talks over the last 3 years, we've come up with, if it's a joint venture, then it needs to be a joint venture. So the county and the city are finally splitting it 50-50. We actually, last week, for the first time in 3 years, we're fully staffed right now. Yeah. We have added, since we did consolidate back in 2016, we have added 1 additional position. Pretty much.
How many employees do you have?
15 total. And then we have 3 part-timers, but they're super part-time. So mainly just the 15 main ones.
Okay. Any other questions for, while you got her? Okay. It would help you too on this IT person a lot.
Yep.
Good thing. Okay, thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, so, we basically have stayed the same last 3 years. And I'd like to go ahead, have a motion to go ahead and accept this.
I'll make a motion to accept the interlocal cooperation agreement between the city and county on the public safety.
Okay. Need a second? Any other questions, guys? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so it passes. I do need your signatures on this paper. Thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, well that brings us to the end. Is there anything you guys